Hey guys, it's FIFA here and welcome to another next gen FIFA 14 video. Now this is not my kind of normal video. I tend to cut down the gameplay and show off the highlights and talk about that. But in this video I'll be showing a full head-to-head game between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, and myself, I'm playing as Real Madrid in this game. So it'll not be cut down to all the highlights. It'll kind of show you off how maybe a typical head-to-head game will look on the next gen FIFA, and while that is kind of playing in the background, I'll be talking about my impressions of the game, what I think is good or what I think is bad, if I think it is worth getting, and how I think it will play out once it goes online and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll kind of be talking about the game, giving you my impressions, and at the same time you can kind of watch how the game is. And if that's not something you're interested in, that's fine. You can just close down the video and not watch it, and if you want to watch it, then sit back and yeah, watch the next 18 minutes of video. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and first off I want to say that I'm kind of basing my impressions on my trip to Canada last week, where I had the Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday to play the game, and then half of the Thursday to try it out as well. So I had about 3.5 days to record gameplay, try out the game and just feel it out and see how it was. So yeah, that is pretty much what I base my impressions on, and of course it'll probably be slightly different once I try the game out online on the next gen, but this is my first impressions and what I think. So the first thing I want to talk about is some of the improvements. So the graphics is definitely improved in some way from the current gen, but I've seen a lot of opinions on the game. For example, I uploaded about, I believe, 3 videos so far on the next gen, and you see some people saying, oh, this looks really cool, I'm really looking forward to this, and then you have the people saying, this is no different from current gen, why should I even bother getting it? So yeah, there's a lot of opinions, but the graphics, some things are definitely improved. But when you look just on the telecamera view, compare current gen to next gen, you can notice some differences, but it's not like huge differences like when you played on, for example, if you played on the PlayStation 2 FIFA 08, 07 or some of the older games, and then you jumped onto the next generation, or what now is PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, like the difference or the jump they made back then was huge graphic wise, and it's not the same jump this time around, but still there's definitely some improvements. The first one being the crowd. It looks a whole lot better now being a 3D crowd. That is something I really like about the next gen. Just like graphics wise, the crowd looks really nice, especially in replays and in cinematic views and that kind of stuff. The crowd looks a whole lot better. Then you have the stadiums, like you saw here in the intro, kind of the outside look of the Allianz Arena. It looks gorgeous, and I love that you now can see like the highway and the surroundings and that kind of stuff. It looks really cool, and especially like I like making videos and sometimes edits, and that gets a lot of thoughts going inside my head, thinking, oh, I could make some really cool videos that way, and it might not apply the same way for everyone, but that is something I think is really cool with the stadiums and so on. However, these kind of outside looks of the stadiums and the surroundings, like the highway and that kind of stuff, it only applies for 6 stadiums. It applies for the Allianz Arena, San Siro, Camp Nou, Bernabeu, the Etihad Stadium and Old Trafford. So for those stadiums you have the outside look, but all the other stadiums you'll kind of, I guess you'll see your regular current gen inside looks, but you'll still have the updated crowd and all the updated graphics and that kind of stuff inside. So it's still a step up, but like the outside looks and the awesome cinematics you get on those 6 stadiums you won't have on every single stadium. But still, I think the graphics that way are definitely improved, making it look a whole lot better. But as I said, when you watch the telecamera view, and especially on YouTube, you can't really spot that much of a difference. You can maybe notice the crowd, but that is pretty much it. If you look on the pitch, if you look on the players, it can be difficult to like notice big differences. But if you go into the replays, if you go into the cinematic views, that kind of stuff, you can definitely see some differences. The first thing being the shorts and the t-shirts, they will move a little bit according to the player, but it's not huge. Like it's mainly on the arms and on the legs, like on the edges of the t-shirt and shorts you'll kind of notice it moving a little bit. But on the torso, it still feels like the shirt is kind of sticky to the player and don't really move that much. So like it's not like if you've seen the trailers for the 2K14 yeah, the 2K14 NBA trailer, like if you've seen that, you see the shirts and shorts just moving, like that looks insane, like if you look at that kind of graphic, and that is something I hope will, that is something I definitely could see FIFA move towards as well, and I hope they do on some of the next gen games they push out on the next gen console, because that would be really, really awesome. You can see it a little bit, but it's not as big as I said in the NBA game, but still it is sort of nice and something you can notice, but you won't really see it on the telecamera at all. Now, another thing that is kind of improved is the grass. Again, on the telecamera, it can be difficult to watch, but in the replay and cinematic views, instead of just having a plain surface of grass, you now have these really, really small, like you can see every single piece of grass, and you can see the dirt and grass fly up into the air if a player is kicking a ball and stuff like that, which is something that makes it look a little bit more real and a little bit more nice, but that's when you get a little bit more into detail instead of watching on the telecamera, as I said. So that is sort of the things I noticed graphics-wise from the current gen to the next gen. And they're sort of nice when you notice them to start off with, and it makes the game look a lot better, but as I said, when you watch it in the teleview on YouTube, you won't really notice the biggest differences. So moving on to another thing I liked in the game, that is some of the new animations. There's approximately 100 plus animations in the game on the next gen, which is kind of nice. You can notice some of them when you watch the video, like you have some new passes and that kind of stuff. You have the ball boy out on the sideline who will throw the ball in. You have kind of the cameramen and stuff like that. They will move around and follow the players and that kind of stuff. And you will also have some animations for the players, like if the ball goes out for a throw in, a goal kick or a corner, something like that, the player, he will joggle the ball up into his hands and either walk over to where he takes the goalkeeper, for example, takes the goal kick, where the player might take the corner kick and put the ball down and then kick it, or the player will put it in his hands and throw it in for a throw in. So that's just sort of a nice little thing to add to the game and make it a little bit more realistic to like it is in real life, which is a nice little touch with the animations. But still, some animations you might not notice when you just watch the gameplay, but when you play the game, you can feel the differences. Like, I'd say going from the current gen to next gen, I could sort of feel it, but maybe not that much. But going back from the next gen to the current gen, could definitely feel there was a difference to the game and how it played, and that, I think that's where you'll sort of notice the biggest difference. That is when going back to the current gen. And it's the same way, like if you go back on an older FIFA, you can kind of really notice a difference in the game. And that is just something about the animations. And then we have the new heading system as well. You have kind of the precision heading, meaning you can now hit in a 360-degree angle around your player. So you can hit it backwards, you can hit it diagonal backwards, which you couldn't really do the same way on the current gen. So that's a new improvement in the game, and that might get some people to say, oh, is heading now going to be even more overpowered than it is on current gen? Because I know for myself, I concede a lot of headers when playing FIFA 14 on the current gen, and I know a lot of other people also do that. Like, if you go on Twitter, you can just, like, you can hear a lot of people complaining about it, and I raged about it quite a bit myself when playing, and it isn't that bad on the next gen, and maybe that's because the players I played against didn't use them that much, and here we actually do have a header goal, but I'll talk a little bit about it. Here, the header here was mainly down to a fluke from the keeper, and you'll still see them on the next gen. They're kind of similar to current gen. The keepers can sometimes be really, really good, and other times they can make major flukes and look terrible. So there isn't really much of a change in the keepers, but there's a change in the heading system, as I said, and it's mainly when you have defenders around, like the attacker trying to head the ball in, because now several players can challenge for the ball. So instead of one attacker and one defender challenging for the ball, you can, for example, have one attacker and two defenders trying to kind of defend the cross coming in. And I think that is definitely something that makes it a little bit easier to defend the headers, because as I said, I played for 3.5 days, and during that period I only conceded one corner goal and I only score one corner goal. Now, it might be down to the opponents I faced that I didn't concede more corner goals, but I tend to score quite a few corner goals on the current gen of FIFA, and I was simply not able to be as clinical on the corners as I was on the current gen, and that might be because of the new changes to the heading, because it seems it's easier to defend the headers, but maybe it will be different once I get online and figure out how it's done properly. But just on my first impressions, I would say that the headers are not going to be as powerful as they are on the current gen, which is something I think is really, really nice, because sometimes you just feel like you cannot defend it at all, where you think I should have been able to. So I think that is something that is good and something that is a step up compared to the current gen. And then finally, a little nice thing I noticed is that you often have a lot of people, and I do it myself sometimes, complaining about 90th minute goals or 45th minute goals, but I guess it's mainly the 90th minute goals, like those goals you always think, why do I always concede a goal in this minute? And that some people say it's down to scripting, and I don't really think so, but I might be completely wrong. But I don't think so, because you have the 90th minute, it is the extra time as well, and the minute doesn't really end when either you or your opponent is on the attack on the final third of the pitch. It's not really ending before you kind of clear the ball away, so it means the minute can go on for a very long time, and there's a whole lot bigger chance you can see the goal in that very minute than any other minute in the game. But one thing they've done now is if you score a goal, for example, 2 or 3 minutes into extra time, it will show off as, for example, the 93rd minute or 92nd minute. It's not a big game changer, but it might be a little thing to avoid people complaining about conceding 90th minute goals, because now you can actually see if it was in the 90th minute or if it actually was in the 93rd, 94th or 92nd minute. So just a little thing I noticed, which is kind of nice just to have in the game. But now moving on to a few of the things that sort of annoyed me when playing the game, and the biggest one being kind of waiting for throw-ins, because you now have the ball boy throwing the ball to you, and you kind of have this continuous play which you cannot really skip, and that is a little bit annoying. Like on the replays, you can skip online, like, you know, when you see the replays, if both players decide to advance, you can skip that and just get on to the goal kick, for example, and you don't have to watch it all. But when you get a throw-in, you'll have to watch the players kick the ball out. For example, let's say you have a ball in play and it goes out for a throw-in, and maybe, you know, sometimes in FIFA the ball gets kicked back onto the pitch, and instead of picking that up, the ball boy will now throw a new ball too. So your player, he will stand and hold the ball for a throw-in, and then the other ball is on the middle of the pitch, and you can of course not take the throw-in before that ball is gone, and maybe the ball ends up a place where there's no players near, and you will have to wait for a player to run out, get the ball, kick it out, and then you can take the throw-in. And sometimes the waiting time can maybe be 15-20 seconds before you can take your throw-in, and that can be, for me, it was a little bit annoying not being able to skip that and just go straight on and take your throw-in. I think that was my biggest complaint about, like, annoyance finding when playing the game, just waiting for the throw-in sometimes. Most of the time it goes nicely and smooth, and you get the ball straight away and you just go on with the throw-in, but a few times you just ended up waiting, and that was something I would like to be able to skip. Like, if both players pressed A, you'll be able to skip onwards to actually just take the throw-in. And another little thing I noticed as an annoyance is you can now kind of challenge for the ball even though you're not near it, and that might just be down to adjusting to the game. But for example, going on the attack, you'll sometimes see some crazy bicycle kick, or I saw it myself, and Alex Kasui saw it as well, because, well, we tried to score a few bicycle kicks, and often the player would attempt it when he's not even near the ball, and that might not be the biggest annoyance. It's more when you're kind of trying to defend, because usually you try to head it away, and if your player is not close enough, he will just do a really weird clearance when he's far away from the ball, and you'll get completely lost behind with your defender. But I'll say, as I said, it's probably about adjusting, because it was mainly in the start where I played where I noticed this and kind of conceded a few goals that way, because I tried to head it away and my defender wasn't even close whatsoever, and he just jumped in midair and didn't reach the ball whatsoever, and I was just left trailing with my defenders, and it is probably about adjusting. But to start off with, that annoyed me a little bit. And the final thing, which right now I'm not too bothered about it, sometimes it can be annoying when you concede a goal that way, but the goalkeepers, sometimes they act up, and I can understand why people get really, really annoyed at that and would have it gone from the game, but you see it in real life as well, and I'm not too bothered about it, but I could see some people still complaining that, yeah, the keepers might not perform as well as they want sometimes, for example with the first goal in this game. But that is kind of the stuff that I noticed, and kind of what I thought was good, what I thought maybe wasn't the best and could hope for improvements. And yeah, that is kind of down to you if you think the game is worth getting. I'll talk a little bit about it in a minute, but first I kind of want to talk a little bit about how the online might be, because I kind of have my first impressions. I might have an idea to how the game might play out online, but still I will not have the final judgment because I played 3.5 days, and based on that I'd say you might not see as many header goals online, or you might have an easier time defending them compared to the current gen, which is something I think is nice. The other thing is you might not see that many of the 90th and 45th minute goals because of the little timer, and that is some of the things I think is sort of nice when we go online, if it is going to be that way. But a few things I cannot be certain, because playing in kind of an offline environment against certain people, I can kind of get an idea of the game, but I don't know how it will be once you really get online and you play against the people, kind of using the advantages you can get on the game. You know, online people will do what they can to make it easier to win, and I do it sometimes myself, try out the headers and get the easy goal. But yeah, once you get online, you'll probably face it a whole lot more, and it might be the headers still are really strong once you get online and you come up against the teams built specific to score headers, or there might be a different thing that will be easier to score off. So it's difficult to say straight off the bat right now how online will be, but I do not think the headers kind of will be as big as a problem as on the current gen. Now, the final thing is the game worth getting? And the way I'm looking at it is, if you're only looking to get FIFA on next gen, it's not really worth getting. Like, the price for next gen console and the game, it is very expensive. So don't get the next gen consoles for FIFA only. Get FIFA 14 on the next gen consoles, because you are getting a next-gen console. Basically, if you're getting the next-gen console for all the awesome games that are coming out, definitely consider picking up FIFA as well, because it is for sure a better game compared to the current gen. You can feel that, especially when you go back and try out the current gen. That you can definitely feel there is a difference, but it is about the price tag. It is really expensive to go out and get a next-gen console, so if you're getting it anyways, definitely consider picking up FIFA, because it is a good game. There are some improvements in the graphics, in the gameplay, and that kind of stuff, and in the end of the day, it is down to what you think is, if you think it's worth it. I've made this video to kind of give you an idea of how the gameplay is, what I think about it, and how I think it will be. And I hope you did enjoy the video, despite it being a long talk about the game and not my usual kind of video. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed and learned something from the video, and that's all. I'll talk to you later.